Hi, I'm Vastav, and today I'd like to read the section on recategorization process. I specifically chose this section because um, it, it has two things. One is the in-group identity model and the concept of in-group identity that I find very interesting, and the other thing is the concept of recategorization and how we identify ourselves, how we see ourselves, and how that extends to other people and also retracted from other people. The idea of having an in-group identity, how you see yourself within a category or within a group, and also that this is the most natural and automatic process that takes place. It's the most subconscious thing. It's not something we consciously do. It's something that just happens. How we see ourselves and how we see others, and how this perspective changes with interactions for the better or worse if our category is extended or retracted. And what it talks about here is extending that category, extending that in-group identity, and thus extending the favoritism that comes with this in-group identity. And I find that really interesting, and so I'll be reading this section. Recategorization process. From social cognitive research, we learn that a related benefit of intergroup social interactions is the opportunity to alter one's mental representations or categories of social groups and individuals. The common in-group identity model describes the recategorization process that may occur through favorable interactions. According to this model, intergroup social interactions allow for perceivers to change their mental representation so that they no longer see themselves distinctly belonging to one group while another person is categorized as being part of a different group. Now, the categorization process operates in such a way that perceivers from one big inclusive category that includes our group members. With this common in-group identity, intergroup bias and conflict is reduced in part because in-group favoritism is now extended to people previously not considered part of the in-group category. And I'll be reading slightly beyond that just so I meet the time requirement. The bookkeeping model. This model was also coined by social cognition researchers, describes the process by which perceivers unconsciously tally up stereotypically confirming versus disconfirming information. As the disconfirming information accumulates, the group category, originally based on stereotypes, becomes modified on the basis of this new information. The model assumes that extremely negative stereotypes about a particular group will weaken as the perceiver encounters each new target person who moderately disconfirms the group's stereotype. However, if a perceiver meets someone who widely disconfirms their stereotype, then the danger is that they will categorize the target as the exception to the rule, and the original category will remain unchanged. Therefore, the bookkeeping model works so long as the target group members encountered represent reasonable examples of the group. The bookkeeping model, I see this as a very mathematical way. I think of this in a very mathematical way, and I find this section also very interesting because this is very similar to a concept in mathematics or statistics, which is the Monte Carlo method, which is basically finding random samples of a specific group, just generating random inputs and then running them through a simulation, which over here you can call that simulation an interaction between two individuals. And you basically take up a random sample and you run it through a simulation, and you do that over and over again. Bookkeeping manner, you run these simulations, you run these interactions, and you make a list of all these interactions, and then you derive a conclusion based on that. And that's basically how this works. You encounter more and more people, and that helps you change or form an opinion on that specific group of people. And the thing about the exception, that when you find someone who widely disconfirms the stereotype, who is widely different from the other cases you have encountered, is considered an exception. And this is one of the things that Monte Carlo is very mathematical. You don't mentally process it, it's an algorithm that processes it. And this is one of the things that actually breaks that algorithm when you find an input that is widely different from the rest of your inputs, which is like an exception input, which messes around with your results, which messes around with your final approximations. And I see this as in a very mathematical way, and it makes a lot of sense when you see it that way too. How exception messes with your final conclusion, and how over and over again running the same simulation, or in this case encountering people who belong to the same social group or category, how that forms your opinion on that category, how you derive conclusions on that category from those interactions. And yeah, bookkeeping model. Thank you.